Hello, welcome to Recentered, episode 13. My name is Gary from the YouTube channel Immersed Robot. We are a podcast all about VR and AR, and we're going to be talking about all of that stuff for the next hour and a half or so. I'm joined by Rog, also known as Fleet Rogie, and also Lee, also known as Ian, apparently. I wasn't present when this happened, but what happened, Lee?
Yeah, I think we played some Walkabout Golf.
Yeah,
didn't we, Rog? And I can't the bloke's name. That is it.
It was Artful.
Artful, that was. See, even I got his name wrong, so we're even there. Yeah, and Artful called me Ian a few times, and I could hear Rog sniggering. And I thought, well, I'm not going to say anything because I presume he means me. And, but then he went, oh, yeah, it's Lee, isn't it? Yeah, I keep forgetting. I said, I'm going to mention it on the podcast now, so there you go. That's for you.
Well, I was wondering when I heard this, because Rog told me about it and told me to mention it at the introduction. Of course he did. But I was thinking maybe it was like some kind of obscure tribute to Ian Lee, the former host of the 11 o'clock show and former columnist of Retro Gamer magazine as well. I don't know if you know Ian Lee, but I just wondered if he'd got that mixed up in his head somehow, because that's what I heard when I've heard this kind of mix-up. So
maybe. Perhaps you could let us know in the comments.
Yeah, it might be. I just wanted to quickly mention at the beginning of the podcast as well, before we get into what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, I wanted to just quickly remind people to subscribe to the channel if they haven't already. It's Immersed Robot on YouTube, and if you can comment on the video, and probably the most important, if you listen to the audio podcast of this, if you can leave a review on the audio podcast platform that you use, then that would be really appreciated, because it just helps us out, get us a bit more exposure and that kind of stuff. We will also be giving away a Windlands 2 key a bit later on in the show, so if you want to stay tuned for that. And as you might notice, on the video version of this podcast, the image on the right is changed a little bit. So we've got now some merch, images of some merch that we've got. So we've got some Recentered mugs there, and you can find links to all of this stuff in the description as well. So there's mugs, there's other stuff. To be honest, I mean, I just sort of clicked on a load of different kind of things that people might want or not want. I don't know. But Rog, you've ordered a mug, haven't you, already?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, on its way from Poland apparently. So I'm not quite sure we're using the right people there, but
no,
we'll see.
I was I mean I'm going to choose one. No, I'm going to get one.
I've just got to say, cut in there and say to Simplex, no offence to anybody in Poland, it just seemed a long way to ship a mug.
Yeah, to us it does, yeah. I mean, well, I was going to order one, but then I thought I'm going to have to save up a couple of weeks, to be honest, because the shipping costs and things like that, they're not the cheapest things in the world, but of course we do appreciate anybody that picks one of them up. Yeah, it was just... we got the cost down, so we are making a small amount on each mug sold, but I did reduce the cost down as much as we could, but yeah, the mugs are there anyway for anyone who wants some, and be appreciated. I'm not selling it very well, but...
No, and German Rifter, your collection just isn't complete at the moment, I'm afraid, so better get on that. Yeah,
it definitely should, yeah. He's got a very good collection of mugs. I've noticed that. He posted, I'm pretty sure he posted an Immersed Robot one, did he?
Yeah, I saw that.
I think he did. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, it was one of the 2 sales I think I made on those mugs. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's have a quick catch up. So we'll go over to Rog first. What have you been up to for the past couple of weeks, and what you've been playing?
Past week or so, I've probably not played pretty much anything really. I've not been too well, in all honesty. The week before that, it's been the stuff we're going to be talking about anyway, with Walkabout Mini Golf and Windlands 2 and stuff, and some of the Steam demos, etc. Apart from that, it's been mainly playing my digital piano more than anything else, because I've just really not been fit to stick a VR headset on my head over this past week or so. But yeah, we'll get into some of the other games what we've been playing in a bit anyway. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, we'll get into all of that stuff. We've got a lot to talk about on that, so we'll get into that in a bit. But Lee, go over to you then. What have you been playing the past couple of weeks?
Mainly the same kind of thing as Roger. I think we're going to be talking about Wandering in Space later, right? And I have also played a co-op game that I didn't even know existed It was called Sam and Dan Floaty Flatmates. I think, Rog, you've heard of it, right? It's from, I think it's like 2017. It's quite an old one, but it's a co-op game, and it is free as well. So I'd not heard of it, and I jumped in with a fellow VR content creator. I don't want to give too much away because I know he's got a video and it's coming out, well, we both have, like the end of this month, around about 22nd of February, maybe. So I don't really want to give too much away of what happened. What I will say is, it's kind of an apocalyptic type thing, and you're the only two people left. And even if you look on the Steam read up, it says you have to try and get together and then reach a boat and get to safety. What I will say is, communication is key. Now, unfortunately, my microphone wasn't working at all during the entire game. So that definitely makes for an interesting video.
Yeah, so I'm sure just showing a bit of your footage actually of this. So I don't know anything about this at all, but yeah, it sounds like you don't want to give anything away because that's
didn't
part
give
of
too
the
much
game.
away. I don't want to spoil his video. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is, for a 2-player fun free game to play. I mean, the experience is maybe 45 minutes. I think I was on longer than that because obviously you do get to a point where you can hear each other, but my microphone wasn't working in game. So yeah, there was that. Yeah, no, it's a cool experience. I enjoyed it.
Oh, it's worth saying, if you do play it with somebody, don't set up sort of like comms beforehand, because the part of the actual game is trying to be able to communicate with each other at a distance without being in the same vicinity. And I know when I played it, I think I was on Steam chat with my mate when we were playing it because we didn't realise that was part of the game. So
now, I didn't as well. You'll see that for the first 10 minutes, I just say, "Can you hear me, dude?" So if anyone wants to take account of that when they see my video, then please do. It's around about 60, I think.
That sounds like a drinking game in the making.
Yeah. Oh no, I won't do it to that. I'll definitely be in trouble.
We'll look forward to some more information on that then. Anyway, but what else have you been up to?
Then we've been playing some, like I said, walkabout, mini golf, haven't we? Been trying some of that.
Yeah.
I've been trying some of the games on, is it Next Fest? It's just started now, but I think we're talking about that later as well. That's about it. I bought some new headphones. Totally irrelevant to what we're talking about, but I picked up some SteelSeries Arctis 7P Plus wireless. The only reason I know it's called that because I can see the box from where I'm sat. But I picked these up from Currys, and I think they were £79.99. Now, when I looked at these online, they were like £165, so they were quite expensive.
Bargain.
But, I got a bargain for that. But weirdly enough, it didn't, because people asked me about them, but they couldn't find them on the website from Currys, but they're in store because I picked some up. So, yeah, not that anyone really wanted to know that, but I hope you sleep better tonight.
I know I will. But I tell you what, we can get into Wandering in Space actually now if you want, because I played a little bit of that this week as well. Lee, you go first on this. What did you think of this? Because I honestly didn't know a lot about it until we got sent the key for this, didn't we? So that's something to say.
I spoke to Kevin on the Wandering in Space Discord. He was very kind enough, sent me a game key so we could try it. Yeah. I've seen bits of people playing it. It's like a space-like rogue sim. So you start off and you're going through what looks like to be some kind of spaceship or platform, and something's gone horribly wrong, and you've got to try and work your way through it. It's another thing where I don't really want to try and give too much away, but it is an early access game. Yeah. And I know you had some trouble playing with the Quest 2 and Airlink, right? Well, we both did. But I had no trouble on the Pico. Yeah. With the guns and things like that. But I really like the gun mechanics. I really like the quick action, the loading, the grabbing the ammo from your back, from the left-hand shoulder, a bit like Half-Life Alyx. I really liked all that. And I like the music. It's quite atmospheric. And the shooting overall, I quite enjoyed it. And the tutorial, I think, was, when you start off, it's like a main mission. It's around about 45 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
and then it gets to where you go to levels, isn't it? Like on a platform, on an elevator, and you've got 6 levels to go to. But it's up to you whether you want to go up to them all or or come back down and load up and make some more weapons. And I quite like that. But I did really enjoy the tutorial part. I'd like to see more levels like that.
Yeah, I agree. I liked, because it becomes a roguelike basically after the tutorial period, and I think it took me around about 35-40 minutes maybe to get through that tutorial section. But the first thing I noticed when I went in, and I did mention this to you, it was like I used Airlink, my Quest 2 initially, and the hand positions were way off. In the menu of this game, though, I noticed that you've got like an offset. As you have in a lot of shooters, really, you can change the orientation and position of the gun. So I went in there and changed it, and I got the gun pretty much right eventually. But then I noticed that my left hand was sort of floating slightly away from the position of the controller. So whenever you turn it, the pivot point's all wrong. And I think we've probably experienced this in maybe some other games. I know I've experienced it in a few games as well, where hand positions are wrong and the pivot point just sort of rotates around your hand rather than changing it. But anyway, to be honest, because it's mainly a shooter, I managed to sort of get past it. It's sort of a pet peeve of mine, though, because hand position seems like such a simple thing to correct. And I think, you've reported this to them as well, haven't you, Lee? And
I did mention it to them, yeah.
It's still ongoing, so I'm not going to sort of bang on about that too much, really, because I'm sure they'll get it correct. But the options within that, you have to select which controller you're using, then you've got like an offset. The thing with me is, I wonder why you need to select which controller you're using, because it should be able to detect it anyway. It's why you don't really have that setting in a lot of other games. Some games do have that, but you don't usually have that setting. You also don't have an offset that would change the actual hand position, because if I look through the gap on Airlink, I'm still talking about Airlink right now. If I look through the gap on the VR headset, like on my Quest 2, I can see my real life controller, and then the in-game controller, and it's off. It is off by quite a way away. But then you mentioned that on Pico it was fine, and you were using Virtual Desktop, obviously, with that. So I thought I'll go into Virtual Desktop. And although it was still slightly off, it was like way better than it was on Airlink. So it seems to be something in how they're doing it with, or how Airlink works in conjunction with this game. I don't really know.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I spoke to other people as well. When you said you were having that problem with it, I reached out to a few people who've played it, and they were like, well, no, I don't have no issues playing with it, but they've all been using Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is why it makes me think it's maybe an Airlink issue. I will say that when I did try it with Airlink, and I know you've had good success with Airlink, but it was bad. It was bad for me, real bad.
I seem like it's just in such a minority with that. I was saying, wasn't I, that the way you look on Reddit and people's experiences with Airlink and Virtual Desktop. I have a great time with Virtual Desktop usually as well anyway, but Airlink is either equal or better than my experience with Virtual Desktop a lot of the time. I'm definitely in the minority. I know I am. I don't know what issues people have necessarily, but a lot of people have issues with it. So yeah, I tend to use Airlink probably about 80% of the time, and then sometimes I'll jump in Virtual Desktop as well. But I think like the colours and things like that seem better in Virtual Desktop, but I just think that how Airlink uses asynchronous space warp to correct for reprojection and stuff like that. To me, it works slightly better than Guy Godin's implementation in Virtual Desktop. I think is synchronous space warp or something like that. That's the name. And they both work. It's not a huge gap or anything like that. I just prefer the Airlink version of that. That's all. But I know I'm in a minority. But
I mean, I used to use Airlink a lot. I spoke about it, didn't I? But when I tried it, the last couple of times I've tried it, I've had some like weird white specks. It's as if someone's flicking a paintbrush at me at the screen. Do you know what I mean? And it's that, and it only happens for a couple of minutes, and then when I'm in game, it goes away. But that's something new that's turned up. I don't know what's happened, but I don't know if I mentioned this before or not. I'm sure, didn't some of the development team for Airlink leave Meta? I mean, I'd have to double check for sure, but I'm sure I read something on Twitter about it.
Yeah, I don't know that. No.
It's a bit of a weird one with Airlink and Virtual Desktop. It can really be on a game-by-game basis for me.
Yeah.
Some stuff just runs brilliantly with Airlink. Some of the stuff runs amazing with Virtual Desktop. And then, what works great on one just doesn't seem to work well on another sometimes. So it's a bit annoying.
Yeah. But what did you think of the game, Roger, you played a bit of Wandering in Space, didn't you, as well?
I did play it for about maybe 20 minutes or something. I was still trying to get over a migraine at the time, so I wasn't in the best of moods. I wish the tutorial was more baked into the game rather. Yeah. I'm not talking about the opening level, but when you start, it gives you a tutorial to go through, so you basically know what you're doing. But you just stood there and basically more or less a black void. It's like, do this, do that, do the other, okay, and it puts you into the game. And the first thing it does is then stick you up against a firing range and go, do this, shoot this. You think, hang on a minute, you've just taught me how to do this. Yeah. Now you're teaching me again. Why are you doing that? That does not make sense.
Yeah, they could incorporate that into the actual game itself. Yeah. I agree with you there. So you could actually pick bits up, and as you're going through to another bit, by the way, you need to pick this ammo up, and this is how you do this, and this is how you do that.
Yeah,
that as you run into the first bit, that would make it that better. Yeah,
that opening tutorial set, where you stood in the void, they should strip that out, and that should be fully integrated into the game, definitely.
Yeah, it might be, like we say, it's still early access, so maybe we can take that on board. But yeah, I mean, I thought there were definitely moments in it, like going through, especially like you were saying, Lee, going through that first section, which is sort of just carries on from the tutorial section, where you start shooting the enemies and stuff like that. There were definitely moments in that I thought, actually, this is pretty good what they've got here, and it is still early. I did still have a few, like there was hitches and stuff like this. You see, the thing is with hitches, I can sort of forgive it a little bit for that. Like when you're going into a new section and you get a sharp like lag spike and things like that. The thing is, optimization can often be something that they do a little bit later on in the development. So, if we get a few performance issues, then maybe that's not the end of the world.
I mean, one thing what did kind of amuse me more than anything, and I don't think this is intentional, but I don't know if you played this far, Gary, but like your little computer friend is like a football floating in the air, isn't it? A bit like that Vespa, what's on Netflix. And that's opening a door, and it said, right, I've got 2 minutes, you've got to have to hang on. And then all the enemies suddenly pile out from everywhere. Someone's shooting some green.
Yes, yeah, that's right,
Joy, and then some others. But I'd run out of ammo, so I was just like running away from them. And because I was slightly quicker, it kind of turned into a bit of a Benny Hill moment.
Yeah.
You know what? Bit of a reference there for folks in the UK. So I was kind of running around for 2 minutes, just trying to avoid them. And I thought that was a bit weird. But then when I ran through, and then it shows you like the space station where everything's gone terribly wrong. I mean, I did like the storyline. You pick things off the floor, don't you? So you pick your ammo off the floor, and you do pick these random like syringe type things that you inject into your arms, and then it's like an audio log.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that implementation. Well. The only thing is, when you're listening to an audio log, you can't. And can you take it out and it still keeps playing, or because that's the thing I noticed, you can't like increase your health or anything like that while you're listening to the audio logs.
It's a weird thing having to listen to an audio log with a massive syringe stuck out the back of your hand.
Yeah,
it's just weird. Yeah, it's strange.
I mean, you do get distracted, I think, because I picked one up when I'd opened the door, and then all of a sudden, like an infected mutant thing come running around the corner, and I panicked with this like audio syringe hanging out my arm, trying to shoot at it. And I thought that's quite a good take. But I had a few bugs as well, where a few of them were stuck in the walls. And a bit of a bug, I don't know how you find, like trying to grab things off the floor. Sometimes it'd highlight, and even though I was clicking grab on the controller, it wouldn't pick it up until I did it a couple of times.
Yeah, I didn't get that myself. That once it had highlighted, I did sometimes have a problem, getting the position right to get them to highlight. But no, once it highlighted, I don't think I ever had that problem. The other thing, quickly, is I think like the variety of enemies you get straight off is really quite good, because you get a lot of different styles, and you've got this really huge guy at the end of that sort of tutorial those first 40 minutes or whatever it is.
And it exploded right in my face and killed me.
Yeah.
So yeah. But no, I mean, I enjoyed it, and they've got a few things coming out, haven't they? I think they've just put on Twitter that they've been experimenting with doing a PvE multiplayer. And it looks like the same sort of thing as a tutorial. I think you're multiplayer, but you were guiding a doctor or a technician through part of the area, so you've got to try and protect him. So that'd be quite cool.
That'd be better. Yeah, I mean, what I'd say is, to me, it's still a bit early for them to try and get feedback on it on certain sections at least. And the thing is, it's not that expensive, but they are charging for it as well. So this is the same thing, Rog, that Anthony always used to say: if they're charging for it, you've got to bring up all the problems with it.
I think it's £11, right about that area. Is it £11, something like that?
Yeah, it's not as expensive as I'm sure when it leaves early access, they'll increase the cost, because it could potentially, if they get it really polished, I think it could potentially be really good, but at the moment it's a little bit rough around the edges, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, shall we talk about some Walkabout then? Because we've all been in there. We went in and tried the Atlantis Walkabout course, and we played that multiplayer. I think we all played it a little bit before then as well. So went in and played. Was it the easy course we all went in, or did we go straight into the hard on that one?
Did we do both? I thought we did both, didn't we? I can't.
Oh, you might have done. I think I only did one.
We did hard, didn't we, Rog? We did it. That's when I ballooned it into the abyss. Yeah. From like, I need to do a tiny little shot. I was telling you about it going. I just blitzed it, and I just saw it disappearing behind this whale. My balls had gone. I'll never find that. But yeah.
Yeah, so we all went in and played this course. Yeah, you know, it's another one it's difficult to keep coming up with new things to say about it, really, because they're all great. And this is no different. I think there's some holes that are a little bit lackluster, perhaps, on this course, but it looks fantastic. And, you know, it's just still a joy to play, especially in multiplayer. And I'm not really a multiplayer person, but just going in there and having a relaxing round and having a chat, that's really what I like the best about this. But yeah.
It's probably one of the best, if not the best looking courses they've done so far. I think they've really pushed it. It just looks the part, it really does. But like you say, it's the actual hole designs are a bit on the basic side compared to some of the more recent levels, compared to, say, the 20,000 Leagues one or the Mist courses, where there's a bit of imagination there, where with the holes on this one, I don't know, the design of the hole seems to sort of go really back to the simple sort of first courses, what were in it. But like you say, yeah, it's playing with somebody else. It is really good, and it just looks great, especially with the new. They've upped the resolution, haven't they, on the Quest 2 version?
Yeah.
By, is it 33% or something? And you can tell it's still not as sharp as playing a PC version, but there's a noticeable difference, definitely.
Yeah, it looks great now, and that resolution increase is you can definitely notice it. But yeah, Lee, what did you think?
I can definitely tell with the increase. I think I've said it before. I can't really see in the Quest 2 that great, but I could tell with that. Or it's even like, I think like Roger's doing shots and they're waiting for me, and I'm busy looking at bricks and looking how clear they look close up. But yeah, I do like the Atlantis course, but same as that, like there's just one or two holes where you get to them and you think it's just an up and down or something like that, and you think, well, surely they could have bounced it off a wall or done something else. But saying that, the hard course is quite cool.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking about, because the holes on easy are sort of... the hard versions are sort of slight variations on the easy holes, and I'm wondering if they designed the hard course with some extra stuff that was in there, and then they stripped it back to some of the easy holes, and there's not really a lot going on, at least not on all of them, but on a couple of them it's literally just round a corner and in a hole. There's one in particular that was just a little bit bizarre from that point of view, but I don't know.
I think we all said that, didn't we? There was one of the holes we all got to and went, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, literally a couple of feet away, and it's up and down a little bit of a hill, and that was it. But...
yeah, but then on hard, I think all of them are, you know, there's something there. There's something that they've added in there, so maybe they were designed around that. I don't know, but the aesthetic changes as well between the easy and the hard. So the hard course is set at night as well, and yeah, it looks great. It looks fantastic, and the music as well. It's the music of the nighttime one. I think that's great as well.
Yeah,
I do love that they do make the hard ones at nighttime. It does bring something else out a little bit extra.
Yeah,
do you think?
Are they all at nighttime? I don't think I've noticed them.
Yeah, I think a lot. I think so. At least a lot of them are anyway.
I just never clicked with me. This is the first one. But yeah, it's great anyway. But Lee, you and I, we went in, played a little bit as well. The Labyrinth course, which you know we've probably been in quite a number of times as well. But yeah, that was great as well. And again,
apart from me not even scoring for the first 3 holes, but yeah.
Yeah, but you still won, didn't you? This is. I had a complete nightmare them last few holes.
Just towards the end, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Labyrinth course I think it's my favourite by far, and especially because when you start off, just because you can see the castle in the distance, and if you wanted, you can Mary Poppins it, you know, fly up and fly about, and and everything's there, isn't it? There's no, no cutscenes, or there's no loading times, or there's no nothing. You can actually walk physically, well, in VR, if you know what I mean, from the beginning all the way up to hole 18. And yeah, I loved the nighttime course. I think hole 18 just blew my mind. In fact, the one before it as well, because that was the first time you spotted the little baby crawling about, right?
Yeah, I didn't see that before. Yeah,
but that hole's just amazing. The one where you just knock it down and it starts going on the side and going upside down.
The gravity's all wrong in that one.
That's Watch the Labyrinth. We'll know the Toby scene where he's walking around on all the stairs and that. And they've got all that. I don't know how they've done it. It's just amazing that hole is.
I do like that course as well. I think that's a great one too. But then again, I don't think I've played. Well, I've definitely not played them all. But I've downloaded a few of the DLC. But yeah, still a great game, and it will continue to be, even with the increase in price on these DLCs as well. It's no big deal at all. I don't think it's.
I mean, it's gone up. I think it's like gone up 70p.
That's it. Yeah.
In over here, and it's they probably should have been that from the start. Really, in all honesty, the value you get out of them. So
easy, yeah. I mean, what's it like $3.99? It's like the price of a coffee from Costco.
Well, in the UK, it's $2.99. It's $3.99 in dollars. It's over here. It's gone up. It's gone up from I think it was like £2.30 or something before, up to $2.99 now. So
yeah.
For how much fun you have, and like you said, Gary, it's not just the playing the golf bit that's fun. It's the chatting and talking and just having a general laugh with each other. That brings it out to be more enjoyable.
Well, that's why this particular game, because there's a lot of games that you can play in multiplayer, but you're often too distracted to just have a chat at the same time. But this one, you can just go in and relax and, hit a few balls into the holes and have a chat while you're doing it. It's not really a big deal, is it? So there's certain games that are well suited to this, and others you want more of like the intense, high energy kind of multiplayer games, I suppose.
And it's super newbie friendly as well.
Yeah,
they've got teleport options, the snap turning, so there's slim to no chance of getting motion sick playing it.
Maybe we should use that as a live episode.
Yeah, could you? Yeah, Walkabout. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad one. Okay, so did you want to mention the cabin, Lee, as well before we move on to what I've been playing this week?
Yeah, it's releasing on February the 16th, finally coming out. For those not aware, the cabin, it's on my channel as well. I went there with PD. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. And there was some VR content creators you might be aware of, like Mike, Virtual Reality Oasis, and Nacy, and Kaz and Cherry. Just a normal run-of-the-mill. But, yeah, that's coming out February the 16th. And by all accounts, I've heard that it's quite polished now as well. And I've just saw on Twitter before we actually started recording, and I thought this might be good for you, Rog. They've got something in the options now so you can calibrate your height.
Ooh, it's always welcome.
And I did notice as well that there's a solo play, because it is a co-op game to play with a friend, and you do have your meta avatars. But yeah, having I don't know what that'd be like solo. I wouldn't last 2 minutes on that. That's a fact. I can imagine it to be super hard. But yeah, that's coming out on February 16th, which is it's a bit like COD Zombies. I've heard people say that about it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one coming out.
Yeah, I think you're not alone on that. I think there's quite a few people. I hear it come up quite a bit, to be honest. So yeah, we'll check that out at some point. So for me,
I think that's around about the same. I think it's like $18.99 maybe. Or I think if you get it now and pre-order, you get 10% off, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not paid by them to say that, by the way. I've just remembered it in my notes.
So for me, I've been playing the past couple of weeks. I decided to pick up a older title, Rebirth VR. I made a video of it on my channel, so I won't stick on this one for long. I say, what the game is all about in that, but it's a combat. Like on paper, I said in the video, it's a bit like Elite Dangerous when it's described in that way. It's space trading, combat sim, but it has got a lot of differences to Elite Dangerous, and when you really break it down and get into it, it's not really a lot like it. It doesn't play like it, but it's something I wanted to give a try, and I'm really enjoying it. I've got to say, I think I used the word complexity about 10 times in that video. I think I was just trying to get my point across too much, but it's not something that you can just go into for a couple of hours and pick up everything that you need to know about it. It's going to take quite a long time to really learn everything with it, but it's enjoyable. It looks good, not quite is going for that realistic kind of aesthetic as Elite Dangerous or something like that, but the planets, the lighting and things like that doesn't look great. But the background, like the backdrop of space, and when you look at some of those things and the visual effects that they use at certain sections are really, really fantastic. So, and the interior actually, spacecraft looks great too. But you can tell this is from 2017, so it's an older title. And although I don't know a lot about the X series or franchise, it dates back all the way back to something like 1999. And this is the first one I was ever aware of. And because I was following VR obviously quite closely in 2017, so I did know about it from back then, but I didn't ever dive in or really hear a lot about it either. So it's something that you can, if you're into those kinds of games, it's something to keep your eye on. I would just say that really, you've really got to be into like those Elite Dangerous kinds of space games, really. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this or played it at all before.
Yeah, I played this, or well, tried to play this back on the CV1. Got totally confused as to about what I was supposed to be doing, and then got into a combat situation and got absolutely pummeled. Tried again, got pummeled again, and then just gave up with it, in all honesty.
Oh, right, okay. I don't know, because the way it works now, I don't know if they had a tutorial in it when you played it, because it was early access when it was first released in 2017, so it might not have done. It's basically holding my hand all the way through the part that I'm playing at the moment.
Oh, right.
So yeah, I'm learning the ropes slowly, but there's a lot to learn, and I don't think it's got a full campaign in the VR version, but apparently you can mod in the X Rebirth campaign into the VR version if you want to do that, and it's pretty straightforward to do, and then you've got a full campaign to play through as well. So I'll probably will look into that, and this is the kind of thing where I was sort of half expecting to just bounce straight off it, honestly, but that's not been the case, and it's got something to it, definitely. So yeah, I'll stick with it, but it's certainly not a game for everybody, I can't say that, but it's something that will attract a certain kind of player for sure.
It looks very pretty. I'm just watching the trailer on Steam now. It does look very pretty.
Yeah, and it's got...
I like the ships and the planets and things look quite cool.
Yeah, and it uses motion controllers as well, so it uses this thing where you can point at the menus and things like that. So they've implemented VR in quite a good way. I will say one of the finicky things is I did have to sort of experiment and change the controls quite a lot before I got an experience that I really liked, but it gives you full control over everything, really. So anything you want to do, you can play with HOTAS or gamepad, or change all the controls in how they work with motion controls and things like that. So just having those options is it's fantastic, really, when you there's just small things that irritate you, you know that you can change them, so that's all good. But yeah, like I say, I've got a video on that anyway, so I can move on, I suppose. But the other thing I wanted to mention was Primal Hunt VR, which we spoke about in the last episode, and I didn't, I can't say that I really enjoyed it myself, but I didn't think the game was bad or anything like that, so I thought I'd better give it a bit more time, and I went in and gave it another, went in and played a few more hunts in it and stuff, and it's just really not grabbing me. I don't think I'm going to stick with it. And this is just, once again, this is a personal opinion on this game, because when I look at what other people are saying about it, I think generally the reviews have been pretty positive on it, and I can understand why. It just really doesn't grab me, and I just can't say I really want to play that much more of it. Have either of you guys played any more Primal Hunt since last time?
No, I've not been back to it now.
No, it's what I wanted, and I probably should give it even more of a chance. I don't know how far I need to go. It's getting to the point now where it is becoming really difficult, though. So I will give it that. Once again, I'll just go back to what I said last time. I do feel like the gameplay is too sort of rigid, too directed. I like a bit of freedom in something like this, where you could maybe attack it from different ways, almost like a Hitman kind of dinosaur game, I suppose, where you've got different options. Because really what this game wants you to do is go from from clue to clue, which it sets up, and then kill a dinosaur, as I said last time. So yeah, it's just not grabbing me, but it's certainly not a bad game, and I'm sure some people will get some enjoyment from it anyway.
I mean, I've seen people saying that, they've got 10 hours in the game and, it's getting really good now, I can do this, I can do that. But how many people are really going to put 10 hours into something before it starts getting variety, or it starts getting into that stage? Yeah. That's the only thing.
Yeah. I think, some of the reviews that I've heard people say about it, that's what they've said. Yeah, it does do that. And somebody was talking about the variety in the game and how it mixes up gameplay, and the person that had basically finished it was saying it still sticks to that general sort of mechanic of what you're doing in the early levels, but it just expands on that. So maybe it does get better, but I can't just sit through, I can't keep playing hours and hours without it really grabbing me and hoping it does later on, when there's a chance it wouldn't even then. I don't know. So yeah, I think I'm done with it for now. But certainly I can understand why people do like it, and it's not a bad game at all. So okay, well, we had a new release this past week, and it was Windlands 2. So I'll go over to one of you guys first. Rog, why don't I go over to you on this one, Windlands 2? What did you think of it? Well, tell us your history with Windlands first. I don't know what you've played. Well, go ahead.
I think we've mentioned this before, where I played Windlands, and it was probably probably the demo version back on one of the dev kits, probably DK2. Or was it Rift? I honestly can't remember now. And it was the only game back then that actually made me feel sick. And it wasn't the swinging mechanics; it was the when you were on the ground. And I've said this before. It's got like an acceleration to the movement instead of aiming in a direction, pushing forward, and you instantly accelerate into whatever speed. It's got a gradual build-up, and I just couldn't stomach that. So I wasn't expecting to like this, and it's actually rather good. I think it's got the same, or it seems to have the same movement mechanic when you're on the ground again, but I guess 5 or 6 years later, whatever it is, whatever problem I had back then, it's my VR legs have solidified now, so it didn't cause a problem, and it was good. I mean, we all jumped in together, and it was an absolute laugh. I think this is a game you've got to play with friends, because I think it just makes it infinitely better than it would be otherwise. I did go into it by myself, and yeah, it was still fun, but it was just so much better with when we were playing it with you guys. What blew me away, though, is the actual how it performs on the Quest 2. Technically, it's absolutely fantastic. This is the sort of standard people should be aiming for, because I think it's flawless. I don't think there's any frame drops. Not that I can remember. I can't remember it dropping a frame
as well. I didn't see anything.
No, it just runs so well. It's got a good draw distance. Yeah, it's cartoony graphics and everything, but then again, a lot of Quest games are. It just ran amazing. It really should be applauded for that alone.
It only frame drops in my experience when I was recording footage, which really just goes to show how close they were optimizing it to the edge, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. It just runs so well. And the gameplay on it's one of those what rewards practice, because once you can actually get into that wasn't going to be a joke. I was going to say, once you get into the swing of things.
Of course it was. You've been planning that all day.
Just up your notes.
Yeah.
Tick, done that one. It's once you can get into that rhythm of swinging through the trees, it feels great. It really does. But it can be a bit of a struggle, I think, for some people. Not saying anybody in particular.
Hold on a minute, I dig.
But yeah, it's just So it's basically sort of like you get waypoints, you swing your way to them, and then you finally get to a big boss which you take down, which seems to scale with the number of people in your party. Because I know when I got there, when I was playing by myself, it's the number. I think I don't know, was it the number of shields or the amount?
Yeah,
amount you actually hit it. It was definitely a lot less than when there was 3 of us.
Yeah, what it does is it basically means that each sort of highlighted part on the body you have to hit 3 times rather than once, or 4 times if you've got 4 players and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it scales.
Yeah.
I mean, I missed most of that anyway, so I did hear the conversation. If people want to check it out, it is on my channel where I tried to join Gary and Rog playing this game. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I really loved it. I mean, I've not played the original Windlands, so I couldn't give any feedback on that. But I'll just echo what Rog said with how smooth it ran. I mean, I was recording as well on the Quest 2 in quite a high resolution, and I just had like one little frame drop, I think.
Yeah.
While I said, I tried to grab it, and it like skipped a little bit, and I think it did prove that on the video. But apart from that, it just ran beautiful, and it looks really good as well. I mean, you did a comparison video, right, Gary? And there's not really that much unless you really stare at it.
Hardly anything. I mean, there's a few visual effects, and I put that comparison video out, and we've got people, commenting saying, "Oh, it's a low poly game, and of course it runs well," and this kind of stuff. I honestly don't think they've got a clue on how much it's taken out of the Quest. The draw distance is the thing as well with this. That's what you got to remember. It's an open world, well, sort of pseudo open world. You go to different areas, but each area is massive, and the draw distance is huge. So yeah, I mean, it runs fantastically well. Looks almost identical to the PC version. Few small sort of visual effects, really. There's hardly anything really in terms of it.
A bit softer than the PC one. Sort of like, I don't know if you said it. Somebody mentioned it, compared it to sort of like Walkabout mini golf before the patch. In that, it's got a slight softness to the image, but nothing you'd complain about. No,
that's probably the best thing I could say in terms of like to give people an idea. It is sort of Walkabout pre-patch, and then Walkabout on PC. That's probably the difference that you're looking at with these. But
I mean, the swinging mechanic as well is so good. I mean, to where you're placing your hands, it actually feels in your brain like you are actually swinging on it.
Yeah,
and when you do get it right, I mean, I very rarely did, but when you do, and you get that speed up, and you're doing it so effortlessly, it is really cool. And then until you fly over a cliff, and then Rog follows you. But
that was good. I loved that bit in your video. Yeah, everyone should go and watch that. That was the first time we'd all been into this, and it was just a bit of a story. I can understand, because it does take a bit of practice to get that swinging right, honestly. And Lee, you did your best. That's all we can say.
I did my best. Yeah. And I definitely need the practice.
Yeah. But like you say, once you get it, it feels great, and it does take a bit of practice. Yeah.
Saying that, I didn't get frustrated at all playing it. So if you are a new player like myself, and you are bad, you still want to carry on playing it, because I mean, I still want to carry on playing it now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did really enjoy it. And like you said, the draw distance, when you shoot your arrow and it opens up the doors, and then you stood there and you can just see forever. Yeah. And you see all the things in the distance, and I think, wow, it just looks amazing.
You compare that landscape to the one in Primal Hunt.
Yes.
And it's like, it destroys it. It absolutely blows it away. Yeah. And the draw distance is huge.
Yeah.
Where with Primal Hunt, okay, you've got more creatures on the landscape, maybe whatever, but you've got that fog fading in. Where with Windlands 2, it's just it's extremely impressive.
It looks great in the Quest 2, and honestly, for me, this is it's probably one of my favourite VR games anyway, all things considered. And it's an older one now, but on the Quest 2, I'd rank this really highly among my favourite Quest 2 games. I've finished it in a few days, really, and this is the first time I've finished Windlands 2, and I don't know how I've not finished it before. What it is, I've started it, God knows how many times on my PC from back in the day, and I always got to a certain point, and then I seem to get lost. And I don't know if the Quest version, and maybe the developers could confirm this, I don't know, but they had this just seemed to be directed. You had sort of checkpoints in between checkpoints with this version, which I didn't notice on the original PC version. When you get later on in the game, I'm talking about, not at the beginning. So it guided you a little bit more, I think. But one of my favourite Quest games without a doubt, really.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be me commenting on something without going into the negative somewhere. But it was just mentioning the checkpoints there. I had an absolute problem at one point. You two had got to the the place where we were supposed to be going, and I just got stuck. And I'd followed the checkpoints, and it just took me totally off course. It took me it wasn't far away from where I needed to be, but it took me away and around a corner to a point where I couldn't get up to the place I needed to be. You know, if you remember, you came back down and went, no, it's back around this corner. And
I know what you mean. They're like the checkpoints on a higher level, aren't they? And it'd be good if they had some sort of arrow, or I don't remember seeing anything like that, do you? So it tells you the checkpoints higher or lower.
What they have, so I don't know, here's the thing, Roger, I don't know if on that instance, if what you were looking at, because you have these checkpoints which are basically respawn points throughout the level anyway, they're scattered all over the place. Then you've got a distinct checkpoint, which is and it has a distance on it. That's the one that you should be following. I don't know if you'd followed one of these other sort of respawn points or not.
I think it was the respawn. Yeah, it was. It probably was that, and I could see where the thing was. But yeah, when you're following the checkpoints, it's maybe those checkpoints should be more or less, I think, in line with with a route that you can take to get to your destination. But this didn't. It took me round somewhere else where there was absolutely no way up to where I needed to get, which was the total confusing point, and I needed to just backtrack a little bit round the corner, and then there was the route up where I needed to go.
Yeah.
But that aside, I mean, I'm totally nitpicking, but that's my thing.
Yeah, it's I love it. Completely recommend it. So I didn't say the price. So it's £18.99 over here in the UK. It's $24.99 in the US from SciTech Games as well, and we actually have a key to give away. So thanks to Mike VR Oasis, who I believe is the community manager for SciTech. Is that right, Lee? I'm
not sure if he's the community manager. I know it's had a lot to do with putting the pitch across and trying to get this onto the official store, hasn't he? So he has worked with developers quite closely on it.
I think because when I requested the keys for this, Mike, I don't know Mike's VR Oasis's surname, and I won't say it in case he doesn't want it out there. I don't know, but somebody called Mike, emailed me back with the keys and gave them. So I don't know if it's the same Mike or not, but I assume it is anyway. But yeah, thank you to Mike anyway. Whichever Mike, for giving us a key to give away, and we'll be doing that. How will we be doing that? I forgot now.
Look out for Twitter.
That's it. Yeah,
we have a Twitter account.
Yes, we did. Did I not mention that at the beginning? I don't think I did I? I missed that one.
Yes.
So we've now got a Recentered Twitter account as well, which you should be following already, even though you didn't know about it. It's at RECENTERED, and it's on the video version of this anyway. But yeah, if you follow us, and then when this podcast goes out, there will be a tweet that you can check out on, and if you retweet that, then you'll be entered into a giveaway for Windlands 2, a game which is absolutely fantastic. So check that out on Twitter.
Well, I mean, there's speedruns on it as well. We're not mentioning that. How cool. I mean, you guys did really well on the speedruns, right? I mean, I just gave up. But you can even play that multiplayer as well, right, Rog? You can do the speedruns all together if you wanted.
Yeah.
But
it's that was a slight gripe of mine as well. The speedrun's really good, but when you go to start it, it puts you like in an area obviously made for like multiple people.
Yes,
but if you're just doing it by yourself, it puts you in this area. You have to turn around, walk over to a console, press the button, turn back round, and then get ready to do the speed run. And if you reset the speed run, you have to do that process again. It's like, no, just give me an instant restart. Don't make me having to wander over to this console, come back, and
Well, you can probably guess what I did. I actually started it and then shot straight off the edge the wrong way, off the edge of a mountain. So I can see why some people might get a bit confused with that. Like you said, if the console was there ready, you press the button, the timer comes up, and off you shoot instead of turning around and running around to it. It would be a bit easier.
Yeah, it's I mean, we were doing okay on the speed runs, and then now it's been released. I don't know if you've checked the global. We're dropping down rapidly. We are now. I knew it would happen. So, yes. Never mind. But yeah, that's Windlands 2. Check that out if you haven't already, because I personally love it. I know. I think the thing that surprised me about Windlands 2, actually, even when it first came out, is just how not. I think everybody loves it, but they don't. It never really gets mentioned anymore until obviously the Quest version got out. I just don't hear people talk about it in their favourite VR games or anything like that. But to me, it should be in the list somewhere at least. But everyone's different.
Playing it on Quest 2, I was like, why have I not played this before? Why have I not played it on PC VR? Do you know what I mean? When I can.
Yeah. I totally ignored it simply because of the fact of the sort of a bad experience I'd had playing the very early version of the first one, and so I thought, oh, it might make me ill, and well, it didn't. So
no, neither did it me either. I mean, I get jelly legged, like I said, so and I didn't get any motion sickness playing that at all. I just thought it was fantastic, such a brilliant game, loved it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we should probably touch on a little bit of news that's been happening over the past couple of weeks as well. And the first news story, which is a little bit old, I don't even know if it's still, well, it must still be relevant, I suppose, is the Quest Pro discount. So it was reduced by $400 in the US and £200 over here in the UK for a couple of weeks. So it was $1,100 down from $1,500 in the US and £1,300 down from £1,500 in the UK. So we didn't get quite the discount that the US people got, but never mind. Our economy is not doing great, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, our price includes VAT as well. So
that's
US,
true. Yeah.
You know, but even then, with the current conversion, I think with the discount, it should over here it should be something in the region of 890 quid or something like that.
Yeah, that's where it worked out off, isn't it?
Yeah, So ripped off.
Well, it's still too expensive, isn't it, really, for most people, because there's been a lot of hands-on with it as well now, and a lot of the enthusiasts that are like us, really, that primarily use VR for gaming and stuff. It really feels more than ever like a developer kit, doesn't it, for future mixed reality kind of stuff that Meta are moving into. And I suppose for developers, or if you want to mess around with that kind of stuff, it's a okay-ish price, but we've still got the Lynx R1 coming, and that's even cheaper, and that'll allow you to develop for all the mixed reality platforms anyway. So I don't know what to say about the Quest Pro. It's an odd one, and presumably we'll get a Quest 3 later this year, and then a follow-up to the Quest Pro, a Quest Pro 2 in 2024. That seems to be the cycle that maybe the Meta are working towards. I don't know.
Are they going to do another Quest Pro?
Well, they've not confirmed it or anything like that. We can only assume based on what they've done.
Yeah, that just seems to be the sort of general assumption, doesn't it? It's like it's going to be like Quest 1 the year and Quest Pro the next, and that sort of cycle.
Yeah. I mean, because Quest Pro, I think they confirmed as well this week that the Quest 3 would definitely not be having face tracking, which nobody assumed it would anyway, and it won't for that line, that consumer line won't have it for quite a few years, it seems. So I think the Quest Pro is just going to be the thing that they always stick in the latest technology into and charge a fortune for, in the hopes that developers will get it and start building stuff for the more consumer.
It's a strange one though, right? Just out of the blue, all of a sudden I just saw on Twitter, oh, by the way, Quest Pro's got a discount, but it's only for 2 weeks. You think, what? Oh, this is a bit random.
Well, some people are speculating it's because of the HTC Vive XR Elite thing, aren't they? That's why they're doing it, to push people away from that and more towards their platform. I don't know. It does seem odd. Aside from that, it does really seem odd, because what's the point in that? And to do this without that being a point just reflects badly on the product anyway as a whole, because people are thinking it's not been out very long and they're already discounting it by $400 in the US. What does this say about how it's sold or things like that? It's not a good look.
I mean, some people have actually been sending theirs back, haven't they? Getting a refund and then rebuying it at the new price. So it's
and it makes sense, doesn't it? Like, what if it's that price, and obviously they must be still be making a profit on it? You would have thought so. Then why not just release it at that price originally and then sell more? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not a marketing expert.
It could be the case they're not making a profit. This could be the cost of. I don't know. It's difficult to say, isn't it? Nobody would really know that, but because I think they've confirmed that they are making. Did Zuckerberg confirm this in an interview at one point, that they are making a profit on the Quest Pro?
Yes. I can't remember. Was it The Verge or?
Yes.
There was an interview. He kept pushing him, and then he pretty much said, "Yeah, we're making. Yeah, we're not making a loss."
Yeah, so who knows on that anyway, but it has got a lot of technology in it, and that face tracking technology must be quite expensive based on how Boz reacted to the fact that would that ever come into the consumer line, and I think he was saying, it's years away.
Yeah.
So Quest Pro discounted. If you want one, pick one up now, or you might be paying a bit more. And
then people can see how disappointed you are when you're in Horizons.
Yeah. We'll move on because there's this Bloomberg story, so we should probably get into that. So this was a Bloomberg report where the reporter was saying that Sony had slashed its production of the PS VR2. I think they said in half, because the original rumoured numbers were 2 million. And did they say it would be 1 million now? Honestly, I can't get access to the article, so I don't actually know, because you have to subscribe, don't you, to Bloomberg? I don't know.
There were a few different reports, some saying it had been reduced, others saying it had been cut in half.
So they came out with this report. Bearing in mind, these were based on rumoured numbers anyway, so they're basically saying these rumoured numbers we had earlier are not the rumoured numbers we're getting now, or they had independent reports from sort of sources within the factories or the manufacturing process that said, no, irregardless of the numbers, they have cut production. But then Sony came out and responded a few hours later and said that they hadn't done this. The wording was a bit off. And actually, one of the things I'll say before I'll pass it over to you guys is, I don't know if you listened to the Upload VR podcast last week, but Ian Hamilton had some interesting things, because obviously he's a journalist and he gets reports, and then he contacts insiders and things like that about this stuff. He just had some interesting impressions of this, saying that it's very difficult to pin down one way or the other really what was going on. Basically, we're probably never going to know, based on how the sources were leaking this information, or how it was being reported, if it was on the record, off the record, or background information. But anyway, I can't describe it as well as him. I'm not a journalist, but that was just quite an interesting insight into some of this stuff anyway. So basically he was saying it's difficult to know either way. But we can... Rog, what did you think of this news story and what it led to?
I mean, what is it to think, apart from somebody wants more clickbait VR is dead articles? I don't know. I mean, Sony squashed the rumour or denied it the same day, which was quite surprising. Yeah, because normally you won't see any reaction, or if there is a reaction, it might be days or weeks later. But this was literally hours. Sony came out and said, no, we haven't cut the production. So
I thought it was odd to see something like that. 'Cause, I mean, like you said, it's just the old. Did they want hammering something before it's even been released? I don't know if they intended that, but that's the kind of feeling that I got. Oh, it's not selling, we're not making as many, so don't buy it.
Well, that's
still, there's still this massive sentiment, isn't there, in mainstream media of like wanting VR to die. It's absolutely it's so infuriating. But it's sort of, and again, with what are Sony playing at though with the PSVR 2, because it's 2 weeks now. This is literally 2 weeks. We're 2 weeks away. I can't wait for the thing, but there's no marketing. There's absolutely nothing. It's like, why? It's insanity. It's
very odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolute insanity. I was on, I think it was a Gamertags Discord the other day. Today, it might have been today. And Wolveraza posted a message on there. One of his sons wanted the new Hogwarts game, so it took him to GameStop to pre-order it. And he was there. He was talking to the district manager for GameStop wherever he is. And he was asking him, saying, what's the deal with PSVR? Are we going to be able, are you going to be able to pre-order it in store and everything? And basically, they know nothing.
Yeah, that's not good. Is it? Yeah.
It's like the district manager for GameStop. It's like has zero information. They've not been told anything. She didn't even know if they were going to carry it at any point. It's like, what is happening?
They had that blog post, didn't they? Was it yesterday or the day before? Which is all they're doing. They're just releasing blog posts, it seems, sporadically.
Yeah,
and
the public. Yeah, sorry.
That one yesterday, it was a little bit of a boring blog post, even as like an enthusiast of VR and that kind of stuff. It's really comparing it to the last generation, but it was quite long-winded, and I just struggle to think if you're mildly interested in VR and you go through that blog post, it's really not getting you that excited for it. But yeah, the promotion around it is just madness at the moment. There's absolutely nothing at all.
I think it's mainly us not us personally, but the VR community that's promoting it more than anything, because that's all I see on my Twitter feed of people excited about it. I mean, some of the stuff we're going to be talking about soon, but I seem to be seeing very little from PlayStation about it.
Yeah, was it Brian from PSVR Without Parole? He'd done, was it a video or a list of 115 games that are in development or something like that?
Yeah.
And was it Shuei Yoshida, one of the guys from Sony, retweeted that list or something, Daft? Yeah. And he's like, this is your advertising?
Well, the thing is, Shuei Yoshida was in charge of the previous PSVR. I think he was head of content, wasn't he, at first-party content or... at Sony, PlayStation, and during his time, it was just fantastic. We were getting all these fantastic exclusives on PlayStation. He was in charge of at least, presumably the content for PSVR, the original PSVR, and he was always talking about it on Twitter as well. So yeah, he's a real big proponent for VR in general, I think, to be honest, and it's great that he still does seemingly have that, even though he's not in the same role anymore.
It just makes you wonder if there's still factions within Sony who just aren't bothered and are fighting back. And it's like, it's you've got the people there who are convinced it's going to be a thing, and then other people making the decisions saying no, we're just not spending any money on getting the information out there. I'm convinced
Jim Ryan really doesn't want to do something like this, honestly. The way he spoke about VR and that kind of stuff, I'm sure there's been quotes that he's given in the past where it just doesn't really seem like a big supporter of VR, a big believer in it. And I was thinking as well, because this article by Bloomberg, it's almost like I say, the damage is almost done by just having that rumour out there is bad enough, because it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If people see that kind of stuff, they're going to be thinking, well, these lower numbers, does that mean third-party developers are not going to jump on board with PlayStation? Does that mean Sony's incentive to make big AAA titles has been diminished, and that means I'm not going to buy, therefore that reduces further numbers going forward? It's just a bad thing to do at this particular time, and it does reflect on how it's been in a lot of mainstream media, because they always want to jump on whatever is perceived of as a fad, and they've done that going back for a long time. The problem is VR seems to be outliving that now, to the point where they can't really use that as an argument anymore. But I don't know what
it's totally infuriating. It's like, this is like probably one of the biggest hardware, most important hardware launches for VR in a long time.
Yes.
And there's people outside of the community might not even be aware of it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're supposed to be having them in the UK in Curry's. I did speak to the gent who was busy on his phone when I was like playing with all the toys when I was in Curry's. And I said, look, you be stocking PSVR2? He went, yeah, we'll be stocking it. Yeah. I mean, that's just some random employee at Curry's, so...
He probably didn't know either way. He probably just didn't want to be bothered while he was on his phone.
But the thing is, why can't you pre-order one in Curry's? Why can't you pre-order one on Amazon?
You can't, can you, anywhere? This is
Sony, though.
I can expect people going into Curry's, and the first time they'll hear about it is if they see it there.
Yeah.
But I think this is Sony. I think that you just can't pre-order it. I think when it's been out for a week or a couple of weeks, you'll be able to get it on Amazon as well. I think they must be doing that. It just makes sense, really. I think they just want to get all the profits from the pre-orders from people that are really enthusiastic about it first. That's all it is.
Well, this is it. I mean, we're all excited about it because of the technology in the headset, for one, and the fact that it's for gaming. Yeah. It's not a Quest Pro in that regard. We're all wanting to play games. We're all going to get these fantastic games on it. I mean, like that Horizon looks fantastic. And this is why I just think the only time I see it is because we're mentioning it on Twitter. Well, the VR community is mentioning it all the time, and they're excited. I mean, I didn't write to PDs earlier on. He's like a little kid. He's like counting the minutes down.
Yeah, well,
I don't think I've been sort of like, this looking forward to something VR-wise since I was waiting for my original DK1, you know. And it's not even the headset, it's the games. It's it's Horizon, it's Resi 8, it's GT7. You know,
that's been popping up on my Twitter. Everybody's buying steering wheels and seats and all sorts.
It's ridiculous the amount of people who are buying not just steering wheels, but the actual full-on sort of like, you know, bucket seat, racing seats, you know, metal frame thing to mount everything onto. I'm thinking, I hope you know what you're getting into, and I hope you're really going to want to use it that much, because I had a racing wheel on a Wheel Stand Pro, which you can sort of collapse and just shift to one side, and that became just too much of a nuisance after a while. So these people buying full-on rigs, it's like, I just hope you've made the right decision.
Yeah, I bought a Logitech one. I think there was PlayStation compatible. Is it like a G29 or?
Yeah,
G29, yeah.
Like that. And I bought it just to play Euro Truck Simulator 2. So I had that for a while until I stopped playing it and got rid of it. So, but I wish I'd have kept it now. But I'm not really big into driving games. But yeah, I know we're going to be talking about GT7, but I really can't wait to try that.
Well, let's get on to it. We can talk about it now, actually, because there was some footage that came out from certain people that were... Well, RGN got invited to try GT7 on the PSVR2. Actually, there were some racing YouTube channels as well that are into sort of sim racing that got invited to try it as well. And universally, it was positive. I think that's safe to say, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody was just absolutely raving over it. And some of the new footage as well, it does look absolutely great.
Incredible, it looks...
It doesn't look like they've had to cut back anywhere, really, from what I can see. I suppose people will end up doing like a side-by-side comparison, and I don't know if they have actually, had to cut back visually anywhere, but from what they've shown, who cares? It looks great.
It does look great. And just looking at that footage, it does make me think, because a lot of sim racers at the moment will play on PC. If they're in VR, they really need to play on PC for that kind of experience. But what's the best sim racing game? I like racers in VR, but I'm very poor at them. I'm not good at all. But I love the experience of playing them. But I'm not really up on the best sim racers that are on VR at the moment. I would go to something like Assetto Corsa, I guess, but... Yeah,
is it that... I don't know how you pronounce it, that Competizione 2 or something like that. I think that generally gets well regarded, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Then you've got stuff like, is it iRacing when for the more really, really serious sort of side of things?
That's right.
I mean, did any of you guys try the F1 as well when that came out?
No,
I very nearly bought it up because it was in a sale in the last Steam sale or whatever, and I very nearly picked it up. But not many people seem to like that in VR that much. They don't.
I think it was a struggle to get it optimized right, wasn't it? There was that many settings to tweak and sort out. But I think when you do tweak them, you can get it running something right. But I mean, who's going to want to keep doing that? With GT7, they're just going to jump straight in and off they go, aren't they? From what I can see, anyway.
Based on that footage, I think the reason I was talking about all those PC VR races is because this could easily become one of the preferable ways to play sim racing. Honestly, because GT is one of the best sellers, isn't it, on PlayStation, generation on generation, and it's got a lot of fans. Everybody loves it, and it could be a big push for VR as well. People that are just into sim racing but not necessarily into VR, that might be playing Gran Turismo 7 anyway, are seeing all of this coverage and thinking maybe that's a way in, maybe that's what I should be doing.
Yeah, if you look on some of the forums and discords as well, there's a lot of people who've said, oh, I've never really been into sim racing before, I've not been bothered about it. But again, there's some of these people have literally gone out and bought wheels and setups just to play GT7 just because it's in VR.
Yeah. The only other thing quickly to mention, and it's barely worth mentioning, I think, because it doesn't really matter either way, but there was a report for a while that IGN, because based on what Ryan McCaffrey says that I was calling Ryan McCafferty in my video about this constantly, which was annoying. Ryan McCaffrey said on the IGN video that it's running at 120 frames. He said the language he used was 120 frames per eye. That's what he was told by the developer. And there was a bit of back and forth on the internet just saying, is it actually true native frames or is it reprojected 60? And I think we've all fallen on the side it's probably 60 to 120. There was literally an article. It was on Famitsu, yes, with the, I can't remember his name, but it was there was two people, and one of them was the guy who created the GT series, and he literally said it runs at 60 frames a second and the head tracking is reprojected to 120. I know some people are saying, oh, but yeah, you know, I've literally seen people going about, oh yeah, but it's still 120 frames a second. You know, this is going to be great. It's going to look so much better. This is exactly what the PSVR did. Yes, yeah, yeah. It's what 99% of the games on PSVR 1 did. It runs at 60 frames a second. Head tracking reprojected to 120. This isn't new. It's what it did before. It's the same thing, and honestly, in races, I don't think it matters that much. You're looking straight ahead, or just off most of the time anyway. And these, like, you can play reprojection on PC, and it's really on races. It's really not an issue almost at all, I would say. I mean, there's going to be purists out there that will say, you know, you need native frame rates in this stuff, but I think for this type of game, it really doesn't matter that much either way. But yeah, it probably is 60 to 120. Although it's got that eye tracking, and people are reporting, you know, maybe that's the reason how it can be 120 native. But I think the just how much that adds in terms of like a percentage is probably not as high as it would need to be. But we'll wait and see. Could be. I mean, I'm interested to see how many people get a bit motion sickness playing it, because it's one. I don't know, I'll keep going on about. I get motion sickness all the time. They're probably thinking, why does he play VR? But it's just the driving one. I think it was a Assetto Corsa. I tried that, and that made me quite motion sick as well. I don't know if it's like a frame rate issue on my PC or what. It's a really weird thing. I can't remember if I mentioned on here before or not, but my dad's not a gamer at all. But going back to the DK1, I've shown him stuff on all the generations of things. And like I think I can safely say the first video game he's ever completed in his life was Batman Arkham VR. Which seems a bit crazy, but he honestly, even back on the DK1, he was way better handling motion sickness than I was. It was absolutely a really freaky thing. He had like solid cast iron stomach, nothing phased him until I put him into, I can't remember whether it's Project Cars or Assetto Corsa, yeah. And he lasted about all of 30 seconds. Right, yeah. And when I asked him afterwards, I said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Well, it doesn't feel like a real car." He goes, "I can't feel it moving." Yeah, and he couldn't stomach being in a car where he couldn't feel the motion. Yeah, it's something that goes back. Sorry, Rog, to when you're younger. I mean, I used to get motion actually car sick when I was younger as well. Yeah, like things on waltzers and stuff. No chance. I mean, I used to get car sick when I was a kid. If I tried to read something or look at anything else, or do anything other than look out the window, I was really bad. But yeah, it was just a really strange thing with my dad. He played those demo called Delta Draconis, which was like sort of the air car demo of its day. And he could handle that. He could do loops in that, like Elite Dangerous, no problems. You know, anything that wasn't grounded in reality, it was absolutely fine. And put him in a car in VR, and nope. That's weird.
So you're talking about air car, then I can remember going on that. I think I've got a video out of it. As long as I was going in a straight line, I tried to pivot slightly. You know what I mean? Just like a slight degree, just used to send me big time.
Air car was a great one for showing people who are new to VR. So, you know, it's like, do a roll, and they're like, I don't want to.
That's still a great little experience to go into for anyone who's not tried it.
It's free.
It's free, and it's not. There's not a lot there, but it's what is there is great. So yeah. Also, news story. The next one is about Echo VR. The servers are shutting down on August the 1st at 10 a.m. So this is a bit of an odd one, bit of a surprise, I would say. Most people would say anyway, because I think the numbers that Boz was quoting, wasn't it something around the 10,000 active users?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah,
so 10,000, and then at one point he said low 10,000, so it could be, could be more. But
yeah, that's weird. Low 10,000s. So does that mean 20,000 or I don't know. But anyway, this is a surprise because it was one of the most popular multiplayer games. It was free to play, and this was never an unpopular title at all. But they've decided to shut it down, and Ready at Dawn are moving on to the next project, which whatever that is, we don't know yet. So John Carmack was a little bit outspoken about this on Twitter, and I think he released a statement about it as well, just saying that he wouldn't have closed it down first off in the first place, but also just to have some options to keep the servers running, or to keep like a skeleton crew of developers on it to keep it up and running, or failing that, to open source the project. But we'll see what happens with that. Did either of you guys play much of this or ever play it?
Not really. I did when it first launched. It just wasn't quite my game. I always wanted it to be more like, I don't know, sort of like Ender's Game, which it sort of like did get sort of compared to, but I wanted it more sort of like, more deathmatch type things rather than throwing a frisbee about, which just, it just didn't really appeal to me much.
There was Echo Combat, wasn't there, which was a similar thing? But
which was, I think that was 3-on-3 still, though, wasn't it? And it was Escort the Flamingo or something.
Oh yeah, really that's strange. Right. Yeah.
And that still didn't really appeal to me. Stuff like that. I just want a good old fashioned deathmatch. Throw 16 players in there for a free for all. That'd have done me. And I think the other thing really was they never seemed to expand it much beyond that second game mode, did they?
No.
And I'm sure, I think somebody said on Discord the other day that mode didn't actually come to the Quest version.
No, that's right. Yeah. So it was originally launched as Echo Arena, which was just this frisbee thing, multiplayer. But Echo Combat was only on PC. That never came to Quest for some reason. I don't know why. As far as I know, anyway, that's what my understanding of it as well. Yeah,
that's what people were saying the other day, and it's like they've not done anything development wise on it, or it doesn't seem to be. There's been no new modes. There's been no pushes to sort of like get more new users into the game. No. Andrew Bosworth as well took sort of like responsibility for shutting it down, and it's like literally a couple of weeks back he was posting about how he'd had stickers printed to give out, which basically said, when people, for people in the company, when they were trying to think of what they were going to do, the sticker was, what would John Carmack do? Yeah. 2 weeks later, no, he ignored his own advice and did totally the opposite.
Yeah.
It's how they're wording things as well. I can't remember what last time we were on about, how they're wording that they're shutting it down. It was like, we've got some fantastic news. We've got this to tell you. Oh, by the way, we're shutting down in the end of August or whatever it is. And it's like, what? What's going on?
That came from Ready at Dawn, didn't it? That one. I wonder
really weird how they put it.
It was, yeah. I was thinking maybe the way they did that was because they were sort of announcing a new project, but saying, "Oh, by the way, we're shutting this beloved one down as well." Yeah, it's a bit odd.
But it's kind of a playoff from Lone Echo, right? Anyway,
yes,
the game.
Yeah.
See, I didn't realise that because I'm such a #pro gamer. I didn't realise it till I was playing Lone Echo and I saw a poster for it. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, originally with Lone Echo, the idea was you booted it up and you had the single player game of Lone Echo, and then you had the multiplayer section basically on the same menu, and then at the last minute they spun it off into its own thing and then gave it away.
But I was thinking with these numbers, like even if it's say it was 10,000, 8,000 active users, that to me that seems like pretty high numbers anyway for a niche VR multiplayer. But obviously not enough. And I think there was some speculation about it, just them not being able to monetize it effectively. Nobody was. I don't even know if it had it in game. See, for me, I didn't play it. I went in a few times, but it's the same old story. I can't do it, so I throw a stroke and I don't go back in. Not quite that. I have been in a few times, and it is a good game. I do enjoy it, but the monetization stuff like that, if it had that, it obviously wasn't effective, or they couldn't find a way to monetize it. I don't know, but
but listen to Boz. It's not about the money. He said so himself. You must believe him, surely.
Well, yeah. Oh, but as well, because Ready at Dawn, presumably they want to focus everything on this new project that they're talking about. But like John Carmack says, if they could just put a crew of a couple of developers on it, just to keep it active, keep it running, do minor updates and stuff, that would be
I would
enough.
suggest taking maybe half the developers from Horizons and keeping them on it.
I'd suggest taking all the developers from Horizons and keeping them on it.
I think that's what they're trying to push there, right? They're really trying to push Horizons, aren't they? Big time with it. So I think everything else is going to the wayside no matter what. But like you said, we don't know what. I mean, Lone Echo is a brilliant game, right? So what the developers are doing there, I'm hoping it's another PC VR game, but
it won't be. There's no chance of that. I can't see it being that.
No. What's the betting it's going to be somewhat mixed reality, since they've been going on about that a lot recently as well, haven't they? There's like this big push for Quest 3 and, as a mixed reality device.
Well, what do you think of a theory where it's Lone Echo coming to Quest 3 or something like that? I mean, I don't even know if I want that, to be honest. Everyone that wants to play Lone Echo has surely played it anyway, I don't know.
If they can optimize that for something like that, I'd be amazed, because I can barely get it to run on my PC.
It was Lone Echo, when it first came out, was tough to run. You really needed 16 gigs to even to stand a chance.
That's true.
I find it absolutely ran perfect until the first part we go into space. And then when you look around at space, it's like a total frame drop.
When that first launched, before they even patched it, when you went into the airlock, if you were running on 8 gig of RAM, it basically stopped. The game stopped. Some people were just getting crashes. With 16 gig, it were fine, and then they did optimize it and bring a patch out later, which is supposedly helpful.
I've still yet to finish it because I'm only like so far through. But it's fantastic. It's such a brilliant game.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It really is. But yeah, I mean, I would just saying that. Really, I don't really think they will do that. But a new project, like a new IP or something like that would be designed for standalone, but have that level of sort of. I suppose experience, because they've been doing it for quite a long time now, this VR stuff. So I think, and they certainly know how to make it work. So that would be great either way. I think it's just disappointing for players of this, of course.
It's like, do you ever get the feeling that Meta just don't realise that the people who buy Quests actually buy Quests to play games on?
Yeah, I know.
Rather than going to Horizons, or look, we're going to be doing all this. We think that mixed reality is what everybody wants, and it's like, well, what people want games. Make games, put money into games. You'll get a return. You'll
get a return, but that's not going to fulfil Zuckerberg's dream, because it's easy to see. Zuckerberg wants AR glasses. That is his end goal of all of this, in my opinion. All he wants is to get AR glasses and then use that as a replacement for mobile phones. That's his end goal. In 15 years' time, that's what he wants to get to. And the transition between going from VR, from purchasing Oculus, which is a VR company focused entirely around gaming, and having that slow transition to mobile-based AR kind of gaming platform, is going to be difficult for a lot of people, honestly. I think it's going to really put a strain on the fact that most people that are into VR at the moment are people that want to play games. And I mean, to me, it's easy to see that Zuckerberg is moving away from that, and it's not going to be easy for the next few years, I don't think.
If you want to slam Horizons as well, I briefly nipped in it again just to see if it improved any. And I think I was in it 5 minutes before I thought, I don't want to go back in there ever again. I mean, I was in like the open lobby area, and there must have been at least 3 Meta employees there. I can't remember what it said above their head, but it was like, oh, hi, Dees, how are you? Welcome, blah, blah. Any problems, let us know. And it was like that. I was like, where did these come from? So there was 3 of them knocking about. I could hear kids fighting and squealing. I could hear a dog barking. I don't know how they've got a headset. And I was like, what is going off here? And I just quit.
Yeah.
That's my experience on it.
I've never been in there really as like a social thing. I did go in and try those the development thing that you can do in there, because it looked quite easy to make stuff, and it is. I think they've got something going there with the development side and just building stuff within VR. It's not that. I mean, it is difficult to do some of the advanced stuff, but it's not difficult, just to mess around in there and get something going. And I quite enjoyed that. But as a social thing, I don't think nobody's.
It improved. It improved vastly from the last time I went in it, but it was still incredibly bad as an experience. So I don't know how they're going to, or what they're going to do. I mean, I could hear them talking about, they're even trying to vote. When I actually joined in, they were trying to ban some kid. as soon as I joined in, I'd seen a vote come up. Do you want to kick blah 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 from me? I thought, well, I've just come in here, and you're already kicking people out.
So you went, yes, please.
Yeah. No, it actually got voted to stay in. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Echo VR is shutting down. So the next thing to quickly mention, Meta are offering 2 free games with the Quest 2 purchase. And this is happening between February 5th, so a couple of days ago, until March the 6th. And on the dates on the Oculus website, it said, I'm using the American because I'm assuming they've put it in the American format for dates. It's March the 6th and not the 3rd of June. So I assume it's March the 6th anyway. But yeah, Golf Plus and Space Pirate Trainer DX will be free for that time if you buy Quest 2. So yeah, good news, I think. Good all round.
I mean, didn't you do this offer before with Beat Saber, right? When you bought a Quest 2,
this is basically, they did Beat Saber, didn't they? And then for a short time, they threw in Resident Evil 4 as well. Yeah.
See, because I got a second Quest 2 gifted to me very kindly by Paradox K, and it came with, don't forget you can claim Beat Saber. But I already got Beat Saber, so I couldn't claim it. And I thought, well, why not give me the option to gift it to somebody else then, to give them Beat Saber if they've not got it?
Yeah.
Well, that was a bit weird. It was like, oh no, we've already got it, so tough. You know what I
mean? Before we get onto these, this Next Fest, the Steam Next Fest, which we'll talk about a few of these games, just quickly mention that Half-Life 2 Episode 1 mod, which I think we mentioned last episode, if I remember, but it's got a release date. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's got a release date of March 17th now, so it's not very far away. That's not. They've worked quickly on that. And I was listening to the VR gaming podcast as well, and they were talking about going back into Half-Life 2 VR, which I've still not done. I need to go back in there, but they've said that they've still been working on patches and things like that, and made a few things a little bit better in terms of UI or and things like that. The ladders they mentioned as well. So I need to go back in. I want to play through that some more before I even think about getting to Episode 1 anyway. But
little asterisk for it, especially for Rog. Send the ladders.
yeah, the ladders. Yeah, the part with the ladders I had an issue with, because after a while somebody was saying that just let go of the ladders at the top and that's okay. Yeah. But there was sections where you have to let go of the ladders halfway through, like halfway up the ladder to get to a platform that's halfway up, and I think that's maybe the issue that I had with it. I don't know, can't remember now. It's been a while since I've gone in. I need to.
I think when I was doing it, you could sort of look at the area, and it come up with like a yellow circle where it sort of like teleported to.
Apparently, that's a new thing they've added in. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, so that's good. Anyway, I thought there's been multiple changes to it which have been improvements. Anyway, so yeah. Why is it that I've not played that? Because that was one of the things that is just really compelling. It's all this other stuff. It's Windlands 2 and everything else that seems to keep coming out and distracting me.
But as VR mods go, it's the most native VR mod you'll get, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about it, Roger, but like run about gun placement and hand placement and things like that earlier on, and this is brilliant. You wouldn't know. It's just like playing Half-Life Alyx, really.
Yeah, it's. I started playing it, and the ladder situation aside, it was excellent, and then I've just not gone back.
Yeah.
But I did play through it when Valve did their very early one on the DK1. They did like a sort of like implementation for Half-Life 2 and Team Fortress 2, and it was mouse and keyboard. But I played through it on that anyway, and oh man, I missed Team Fortress 2 so much, because the only time I ever played it was in VR, and it was absolutely brilliant. It was so good. I'm always gutted that they never did a full-on implementation of VR for that.
Yeah. So before we get on to Next Fest, the last thing we'll mention is this rumour which was on Mixed Reality News. It was a report on there where Lee, you sent this through to me actually, where I saw it. But this is the fact that the Meta Quest 2 is rumoured to be getting a new PC VR client without Rift support. So the thing is, this PC client for Oculus, the Oculus desktop app, it's old and it's very, it gets updates, but it doesn't change. There's nothing that really changes with it. It's still pushing games from the store which are old, and all of these other things. So the fact that if this rumor is true that it's getting a new client for, even if it doesn't include the Rift, if it's for the Quest, I think it's a positive. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean, it is quite dated, isn't it? Especially when you're using the Quest 2, and it can be a bit confusing as well. Some of the options are a bit weird, and you're sort of like in a massive area. It's just like a grid, isn't it? And it's an empty grid, and it's all grey. And I've never liked the look of it, but I think it make it easier to use as well. But I think it's just rumored with that. This is just going to be for the Quest 2, right? It's not going to be an update for the Rift S, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, they're ditching the Rift altogether.
Yeah, which makes sense. They've ditched the Rift ages ago anyway. So we can only expect it for Meta now, and basically goes back to what we were saying before. They're moving away from PC altogether, but the fact that they want to still implement this kind of client means that, to my mind, the reason they want to do this is not to produce games for PC anymore. It's because they want people with these mixed reality headsets to still have access to their PC so they can do work-based stuff. That's all what it comes down to.
It's all about productivity apps and everything else. That's the only reason they're doing it.
But if we can still get access to all our PC games in VR through the Quest with this new client and it works better, then that's got to be a bonus anyway.
Yeah, true.
It's rumored to be. When is it rumored to be? It's like between July and September, I think I read, if I remember correctly. Something like that.
Yeah, that's right, actually. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just scrolling down the article now because Thrillseeker actually leaked this. But Mixed Reality News reported on Thrillseeker's tweet. So he put down the current Rift PC VR software will become deprecated as a new PC client that does not support Rift or Rift S is introduced around July to September 2023. He does put it's a rumour, but a pretty strong one. So see what happens with that.
I could see them doing it. I had quite a few problems with my Rift S just recently. Every time I move it a millimetre above my head, I'm checking stuff and I'm recording, it's like, reset your Guardian. Keep putting my controller on the floor and doing all that every single time I was doing it. And it's not just me. I know VRAM was having trouble with it. I think Dr. Craig was having trouble with it. So we're all having these things and all these bugs that we want to try and get Meta to fix, but obviously they're not bothered about sorting there, aren't they?
No.
Allegedly. Sorry to get sued.
Okay, well, we can move on to this Steam Next Fest. So this is between February the 6th and 13th, so it's this week when the podcast is out. And there's a lot of demos on there. It's not just VR stuff, but we'll be talking about a few of the VR things that we've tried on this. So these are demos that you can download, give a try to for forthcoming games. And, well, Rog, go over to you first. Which ones have you been playing on these?
Right, I went through 3 of them. First one was, I'm trying to get the name right. I have to click on it. There we are. Formula Retro Racing World Tour. This is basically wanting to be Virtua Racing, the old Sega arcade game. It doesn't quite get there. I mean, again, this isn't a game that's out yet. It's it's a demo for that. It might get there. It just feels a bit off. It's a low poly style game, just like Virtua Racing was, but I don't know. There's just something that's not quite right, and I can't put my finger on it. There's 2 sort of modes you've got. You've got like basically sort of F1 racing cars, so you've got the full sort of virtual racer look. Though the cockpit isn't fully modelled, it's just like a flat grey slab underneath you, and then the steering wheel. So that definitely needs some work. And then the other cars are just basically drifting-based cars, and that's got possibly one of the worst control schemes I've used on a racing game. Full stop. You can't even begin to turn without suddenly drifting. It's just so twitchy. I found it uncontrollable. Hopefully they'll put a lot more work into it and get it to the point where it is that sort of like virtual racing game that I want. Because I really love the old virtual racing game. Yeah, it's the only reason I'd want a Nintendo Switch because there's a really good version of virtual racing on that.
If this is the video I saw in our drive, you totally nailed that first corner, Rog.
Yeah,
I do get what you mean by the virtual race thing. It looks kind of cool. I like the retro style of it, how it looked.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It just doesn't feel quite. It's just not quite there. Let's say.
Go on. You can.
I better say again. It's just a demo. It's still being worked on. So
yeah, I went in there just like very quickly before we'd started recording this, because I'd not really tried anything except one, which we'll talk about in a minute. So I wanted to try. This is one that stuck out to me because I saw a couple of people making videos on this one actually as well. But yeah, so it's a flat game as well. It's not just VR, this one, isn't it? So you can pick it up and flat, and then you can go into the VR mode. Then you find yourself in front of this arcade cabinet. I was trying to play it with motion controllers, but I don't think you can you? Do you have to use a gamepad for it?
I was using my 360 pad.
Yeah, I think because I couldn't do anything once I went in with motion controllers, and I wasn't near my PC when I was using it, so I just thought, I've not got time to really get into it now. But yeah, I mean, the aesthetic looks pretty good at least, but I will try it. I will definitely try it anyway. It looks appealing, but if it's got issues and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely got issues, no doubt about that, but...
I think a lot of the Next Fest demos do have.
Yeah.
Every time I try them, I'm like, oh, it's not something I spend a lot of time trying the demos of, because they're usually that bad. And I just think, there's early access, there's early alpha, and there's alpha, pre-alpha.
Yeah.
And I think these are what these are, just to try and get something just to show people a general idea of what they've got planned.
Yeah,
really.
Definitely. I mean, the second one I tried was Vreken. And please stop putting VR in a name and try and make it sound like a word, because obviously they think it sounds like Tekken, and it's not even, it's a first person sort of beat 'em up, and it's just bad. You can walk up to a character, stick your controller in its face, wiggle your hand about in a small circle, and get multiple hits on them, and then they fall to the floor. I just thought it was pretty terrible, really. So I'll just ignore that one and move on. And the third one I tried was, goodness, VR in the name, VRNoid, basically an Arkanoid ripoff. And I know you tried this, didn't you, Lee, and said you didn't like it.
No, I didn't. I don't know if it's something to do with the angle of the table or what was happening. I got quite, I think from looking down and then looking up, I'm not sure if it sort of moves it, but I got quite motion sick playing it. And there's that many things, you were knocking the ball about, when you, or whatever it was, and then it like heart coming towards you to try and pick up, and things were falling at you, and I couldn't concentrate enough to do all three things at once.
Right.
But I think that the angle of the table confused me a bit.
Oh, right. I actually really like this one, surprisingly. I think I played it for about maybe 30 or 40 minutes or so before moving on, and I thought it was sort of well done. There's definitely a few things that I'd like changing. It's like, so it's basically sort of Arkanoid crossed with air hockey, and there's even an air hockey mode in it as well. Yeah, there is.
But, I mean, the air hockey mode is quite cool, although I would say I probably scored more in my own goal than what I did there. I missed it quite a lot.
Yeah. It's Arkanoid in VR. But instead of like a long paddle, you've got an air hockey sort of puck, what you knock the ball with. I wish the puck's the wrong word, but the thing you hold, I wish it had actually collide and sort of rest on the table, but it doesn't. It sort of goes through the table as well, so you have to sort of hold it on at the correct height, which was a bit weird. But it did a few different weird things. It's like at one point, one of the levels you get to, there's actually a gun turret in the middle of all the bricks that you have to destroy, and every so often it'd shoot at you. So you sort of you're trying to whack the ball up the table at the same time you're dodging with your head to avoid the incoming fire and stuff like that. And I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
What other ones did you try then, Lee?
I tried. I don't know if you guys tried the Golf on the Moon one.
No.
Did you guys?
No.
Well, I think like you mentioned earlier on, Rog, didn't you, that they've updated it since I've tried it. So whether it was the version that I tried that just sent me totally insane and infuriated me when I was playing it or not, but it was one of those where, I mean, it's a brilliant idea, because who doesn't want to play golf on the moon? You know what I mean? But the ball, the actual golf ball itself is quite big. So I would say it's like a small football, something like that. And you've got your putt. But I find every time I try to hit it, the noise would say as if I did, but it would still be there. And then I'd sort of pull my club back thinking, why hasn't it moved? And then I'd hit it, and then it'd either go behind me and I'd knock the clubs over or things like that. So I think the collision detection was slightly off. And then when I was like trying to tap it slightly, it would fly for miles, which I presume it would do on the moon anyway. Or I was just getting really frustrated with that, and it was just flying everywhere. And it was just, yeah. If I could have pulled my space helmet off, I would have done.
Can I just say that I'm just doing the video version of this podcast as we talk about this, and your points that you were bringing up are aligning perfectly with what I'm showing you on the screen.
I can remember it. It's just burned into my retinas.
When Rog was talking about his game as well, VRNoid, I was like, this is lining up perfectly. This is unbelievable.
But it was kind of cool. I mean, they did have things like the I don't know if it's not called a rover, but the one that landed on the planet and that was slightly hovering above. So it's like the booster was coming out below, and then a bit of a level I played where it's got cheese moving back and forth. So I mean, it's quite funny touches, but yeah, I just find it really troublesome as it is now. I suppose when they do sort out these little things like collision and that, it will be a lot better. But man, you think I'm bad at Walkabout Golf?
Well, this is the thing as well with mini golf games now. It's like you just sort of think, well, maybe sort of like Mighty Coconut just need to get their act together and do like a NASA inspired course on the moon or something.
That's exactly what I thought while I was playing it. This would be cool if they brought this out as a level.
Yeah.
I think you've got a tough sell, doing a mini golf game to compete with the Walkabout. I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I did play. Is it Gazzlers? I think it's called Gazzlers.
It is, yeah, it's called Gazzlers.
It's very much. I tell you, I got scared to death when I first started playing it because it's all dark when you first load the game up. So I'll just give anyone a warning. You can hear like little things talking in the background, and all of a sudden it'll go, da-da! Like minions when they pop on and all that sound.
Yeah.
Like, it did that.
It's very minion-y, these. Yeah,
it shakes on the video, and that's me panicking. I'm like, oh, what's going on? So that kind of did me straight away. But yeah, you're sort of on the back of a train, and it's got that Borderlands kind of style, cartoony graphic, which I think always works quite well. Yeah, and you're shooting things coming at you, and you can pick pickups from the side of you to arm your gun. I didn't realise I could do that. I kept saying, you've got no ammo. I'm thinking, well, why? Well, I've not picked it up to put in the gun. That helps. But I think that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I mean, I got the lowest score, I think, on the entire game, but I didn't survive very long. It's one where it's sort of a bit like one of them fitness things again, where you are shooting, but then you're dodging.
The
bullets. You're moving left and right, and you're up and down. So it's getting the fitness in as well. I think it's one to definitely keep an eye on.
This is the other one that I tried actually, and I like this. I really like this. For what a lot of these games are in Steam Next Fest and all the forthcoming VR games, a lot of them are these kinds of little indie arcade games as you would expect. It's like that kind of stuff. And this. I mean, it's really well polished already. I didn't have any bugs in this one or anything like that.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, it looks great. Like you say, it's got that Borderlands kind of aesthetic thing to it as well. Yeah. And I thought this was pretty good. This is definitely one to look out for me. If very arcadey. It's wave shooter-ish, really, but a good one. Is, I would say, a good one. Enjoyed that one actually. So that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that you played, Lee? By the way.
No, I think the only ones I spoke to a couple about with you and Ross to maybe try a later time. I don't know. Usually they add them as well. I don't think in the week some developers will pop them on, so it's always worth keeping an eye on Next Fest. But if it's hard to find when you first load it up in Steam, I mean, even I struggle. I thought, where's all the VR stuff? The VR category is the very end one, right hand side. Yes, so after you see all the games, then the VR one's there, and it will pop up a list of the games that you can play. Yeah, but hopefully they'll add a few more as well.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't have a chance to try any more. But I mean, I will try a few, hopefully this week if I can. Yeah, it's interesting to try them, but like you say, what you were mentioning earlier, it's like there's alpha, there's pre-alpha, and some of them do stray a bit too far in that, don't they? With these, but I wonder sometimes if some developers put them out and it puts people off, maybe. Oh, I think they might try them and think, what's this? Yeah. I think I don't really have great experiences with the demos, apart from that Gazzlers was quite cool. I think some of them use it as a way to gauge interest, like is it worth developing this further and that kind of stuff. Maybe, I don't know, but I've said it. I don't know a lot in this episode. I think I'll just keep going. It's how I'm ending sentences now. That's me. Fantastic. Okay, but we should probably end this episode anyway. That's pretty much everything we wanted to go through.
as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, please comment, subscribe, and like the video and comment. Yeah, comment on the video. That's probably the best thing you can do, really. Just give us some feedback, ask questions or anything like that, and leave a review on the podcast platform that you use as well. If you listen to this the audio format. But the other thing, as we reiterated earlier in the show with Windlands 2, we do have a giveaway. Follow us on Twitter at RECENTEREDPod. We'll have a tweet out when this podcast goes live, and it will just basically say, you know, retweet this for a chance to win Windlands 2. And you do that, and we'll contact you on Twitter if you're the winner of it. We're using Lee's random wheel number generator thing to pick the winner, so it's all fair and square. But yeah, that's it from us. Any last thoughts, guys?
Liking, get retweeting, get winning. There you go. On a t-shirt.
That's it. That's good. Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
Did you make that up just now? Because that's very good.
Yeah, there you go. You can have that one for free.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just back to waiting for PSVR2 now. It's like 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to trying it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say. I didn't mention on the video. I assume there's no reason I can't say, is there, Lee?
No, you can mention, yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping Lee and I are both... Well, you'll be going round to Paradise Decay's house to try it, either way. But yeah, I'm hoping to get round there and give it a try as well, so I can give some impressions on the podcast too.
You know, the only worrying thing for me is, and it's nothing to do with how it'll look, how it plays, or the games or anything like that. The worrying thing for me is I want to take the headset off, look at you, and say, "Oh, I've got to save 1,100 quid now."
Yeah, I know. That's the issue.
I've got to buy this.
I'm very nervous about it. I said to my wife, and well, the kids were all in the room, and my son, I've mentioned before actually, my son, he plays on PS4 and he's never really been bothered. I've said, don't you want a PS5? I've tried to encourage him, but he's never been bothered by it. And then over the weekend he said, yeah, maybe we should get a PS5. And I said to my wife, I said, there's serious FOMO going on with me right now, because everybody's talking about PSVR2, and I might just start selling stuff to pick up a PS5
I'm
and
exactly
PSVR2.
the same, because I've like, even said to the missus, you do know this headset I've bought is PlayStation 5 compatible. So if we ever got one of those, then we've got a headset for it. You know, and if we ever do get a PlayStation 5, then might as well pick up the PSVR 2.
Yeah. It's a good argument. I don't know how they can argue with that, really. It's all rational stuff that's going on here. But anyway... Oh, God, I'm going to have to get one. I've got to find the money somewhere.
Do it.
It's just too much in one go. That's the problem.
Funny thing. It's just like, but I mean, I like I said before, I'm sure I mentioned it, but I wanted a PS5 when they originally came out, but because the scalpers and COVID and how everything was, I just couldn't, you know, I wasn't willing to pay that sort of money for one.
Yeah.
And now you can sort of get one. I've not got the money, whereas I did then. So it's just one.
That's pretty much the identical situation to me. I think because it's tough at the minute, honestly.
Yeah.
Just everything's going up. Everything is going up in cost. So I'm not talking about technology. Just in general, in real life, everything's going up. So yeah.
My local Asda wanted £4 for a bottle of salad cream the other day. Oh, you must be joking.
A pack of 10 fish fingers, and this is going back a month or two. Pack of 10 fish fingers, £6 something from Asda.
The worst one was COVID. They went up to about £7 or £8 at my local one at one point.
Jesus, fish
I think
fingers.
the cod ones
Fish
are about
fingers.
£8. Fish fingers. They're, you know, stupid, crazy money again. Like when butter went up, a tub of Lurpak for £5 or whatever it was. Like what? Has it got gold in it?
Are we still recording this, by the way?
We've accidentally forgot to finish the podcast.
That's true.
We're into the random half-an-hour chat we have afterwards.
Talking about fish fingers every week. Fish fingers.
By now.
Right, anyway, that's it for Recentered, a podcast about VR, believe it or not. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks anyway. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you then. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care.